Alien Prince gave his ugly dragon, Hatchling, as a joke to human. The first time Prince Kael of the Xerath Empire laid eyes on the creature, he laughed so hard his crystalline armor flickered. By the moons of Verith, he chuckled. This one must have hatched wrong. The dragon Hatchling before him was no bigger than a human's arm, covered in dull gray scales instead of the shimmering blues or purples that marked royal bloodlines. Its wings were tattered like torn fabric, one eye clouded white, and it sneezed sparks that fizzled before they even touched the air. The hatchling looked up at the towering alien prince, whimpered, and curled its tail round itself. The royal nursery attendants bowed deeply, trembling. My prince, that is your birth dragon, linked by blood to your family's line. The oracle egg that hatched it was assigned to you by fate. Kael snorted. Then fate has a strange sense of humor. He glanced over his shoulder at the visiting delegation, a mix of Earth's ambassadors and their armed escort, who had been allowed onto Xerath Prime for the first time since the signing of the Galactic Accord. Among them stood Captain Alara Voss, the only human pilot who had ever survived a warp breach. She was tall, with bronze skin and sharp blue eyes that didn't flinch when aliens towered over her. Kael had heard the stories, that she dragged a broken ship through a plasma storm and still made it to the rescue point. To him, she looked unimpressed. That made Kael's pride bristle. So, with the arrogance only royalty could manage, he grinned and said, Captain Voss, you humans like pets, don't you? Take this one. Consider it a royal joke. The attendants gasped. Giving away a bonded hatchling, even a defective one, was scandalous. It was like giving away part of one's destiny. But Kael didn't care. The ugly little thing embarrassed him. Alara raised a brow. You're serious? As serious as your human coffee addiction, Kael said with a smirk. It's worthless to me. Perhaps you can teach it to fetch your boots. The hatchling squeaked, and for a moment, Alara thought she saw a hurt flicker in its cloudy eye. She didn't laugh. Instead, she stepped forward and scooped it up gently. Then I'll take your joke, she said quietly. Maybe I'll teach it better manners than its prince. The hall went silent. Kael's grin faltered for just a heartbeat. Then, with an amused wave, he turned away. Part 1. The Human and the Hatchling. Alara named the dragon Sparks, because every time it hiccuped, it spit out a tiny, useless spark that fizzled midair. She took him aboard her ship, the Ardent, where a crew of misfits immediately fell in love with him. He's ugly, said Juno, the mechanic, scratching her shaved head, but he's got spirit. Sparks chirped at that, gnawing on a loose wire. Hey! Juno yelped. Not that kind of spirit. At first, the dragon was nothing but trouble. It chewed cables, shrieked to the engine's hum, and once vomited molten metal onto Alara's boots. But every time she thought about leaving it behind, it would crawl into her lap, wings trembling, eyes sad. Fine, she'd sigh. You can stay. But no eating the reactor wires. Sparks tilted his head and squeaked like he understood. Days turned to weeks, and Alara began noticing strange things. Sparks would hover near the navigation controls, staring at the star charts with uncanny focus. Once, when a meteor storm hit, Sparks screeched, moments before proximity alarms went off. It was as if the hatchling could sense danger before any scanner could. He's learning, Juno muttered one day, watching the dragon mimic her gestures. That's not normal, Cap. Most hatchlings take years to form psychic connections. Alara frowned, stroking the little creature. Maybe he just needed someone to believe in him. But deep down, she wondered, why would a royal egg bond to Kael, then hatch something this strange? Part 2. Shadows of the Empire. Meanwhile, back on Xerath Prime, Prince Kael was regretting his arrogance. Rumors had spread through the Empire. The prince's hatchling was deformed, rejected, and given to a human. In a society where dragons symbolized strength and royal destiny, Kael's mockery had become a scandal. His rivals whispered that it was a bad omen, that he'd curse his reign before it even began. Your Highness, said Vizier Threx one evening, his scale face solemn, the council demands you retrieve the hatchling, the bond between you, and it cannot be severed without consequence. Kael scowled. It's worthless. Worthless or not, Threx said, it is yours. If it dies, the bond dies with it. And if the bond dies, so do you. That froze Kael's blood. You're saying my life depends on that pathetic creature? The Vizier nodded. The oracle eggs are bound by bloodline and soul thread. To mock destiny is to unravel it. For the first time, Kael felt a flicker of fear. He ordered his ship, the Gilded Fong, to set course to the Outer Rim. He was going to find that human and get his dragon back. Part 3. The Human's Bond. By the time Kael began his search, Sparks had grown. No longer the frail hatchling he once was. His wings were still ragged but stronger, and his once dull scales had begun to glimmer faintly in shades of silver when starlight hit them. He followed Alara everywhere, chirping and growling protectively when strangers approached. He had even learned to mimic her voice. In short, strange bursts of sound. Alara, he croaked one morning, startling her so badly she dropped her coffee. By the void, Sparks, she gasped. You talk now. Ilare, he repeated, puffing his chest proudly. Juno nearly fainted laughing. But when danger struck, Sparks proved he was far more than a joke. During a supply run on the mining world of Virex, 4 pirates ambushed the Ardent, Plasma fire tore through the air. Ilara and her crew fought desperately, until Sparks let out a scream that shook the air like a shockwave. The pirate ships went dark, their systems fried. Sparks had unleashed a burst of raw psychic energy, something dragons only did when fully matured. The crew stared at him in awe. How did he? Juno began. Ilara knelt beside him. Sparks was trembling, exhausted, but his eyes burned bright, no longer cloudy, but sharp and full of fire. You saved us, she whispered. He chirped weakly and pressed his head against her hand. That night, as she watched him sleep, she realized something profound. Sparks wasn't effective. He was different, and different to be powerful. Part 4. The Prince Returns. The next morning, an Imperial warship blotted out the sky. Kale's voice thundered over comms. Human Captain Ilara Voss, you have something that belongs to me. Ilara's jaw clenched. If you mean the dragon you threw away as a joke, then no. He belongs to himself now. Kale appeared on her screen, his crystalline armor gleaming, eyes cold. You don't understand. Human. That hatchling is bound to my life. I need him back. Sparks stirred beside her, growling softly. You need him now? Ilara said, voice sharp. Where was that need when you humiliated him in front of half your court? Kale's expression darkened. Do not lecture me on Zarin customs. Then maybe learn some humanity. She snapped. The line cut. Moments later, Kale's ship began charging its tractor beam. Ilara. Juno warned. He's locking on. Sparks leapt onto the control panel, wings flaring. His eyes glowed, and suddenly, the ship system surged to life on their own. The Arden jolted free of the beam, propelled by an energy source no one could identify. Sparks roared, a real, echoing roar that sent tremors through the hull. Kale stared in disbelief through his viewport. Impossible, he whispered. He's still just a hatchling. But Sparks wasn't a hatchling anymore. Part 5. The Bond of Fire. Kale's ship pursued them through the asteroid belt. Plasma fire lit the darkness. Ilara maneuvered hard, but Kale's vessel was faster, stronger, imperial. Sparks screeched again, scales glowing brighter, feeding off the ship's energy systems. Ilara, he's synced with the engines. Juno yelled. It's like he is the ship now. Sparks' wings spread, and arcs of psychic lightning crackled through space. The Arden became a comet of burning silver. Kale's sensors overloaded. His crew panicked. Prince, the energy signatures. Hold position. Kale barked, but the fear in his voice betrayed him. Suddenly, a telepathic voice filled the bridge. Why did you throw me away? Kale froze. He recognized the voice. It wasn't human. It was his dragon's. He began, but the words died in his throat. You laughed, the voice whispered. You called me worthless. Kale's chest tightened. Memories of that day flooded back. His arrogance, his laughter, the way the hatchling had looked at him. I was wrong, he whispered aloud. I was a fool. Sparks' psychic presence burned hotter, until it filled both ships. Ilara heard it too. Sadness, anger, longing. You hurt him, she said to Kale through comms. And now you want to claim him again? I want to make it right, Kale said, his voice trembling for first time. Please. Sparks hesitated. His glowing scales dimmed slightly. Ilara touched his snout. It's your choice, Sparks. Not his, not mine. The dragon turned his gaze toward the prince's ship. Then slowly he spread his wings and flew out of the Arden's bay doors, suspended in the void between them. Kale stepped forward on his bridge, eyes wide. The little dragon, once ugly, mocked and cast aside, now filled space with his own light. His silver fire wrapped around the ships like a ribbon of energy. Then, Sparks released it all in one control burst. The blast didn't destroy, it healed. The rifts in both ships sealed. The psychic link between Kale and his dragon reignited. But this time, it didn't pull Sparks toward submission. It balanced. Equal souls. For the first time, Kale felt the dragon's emotions. Pain, trust, and forgiveness. I am sorry, Kale whispered. You were never useless. It was I who was blind. Sparks chirped softly, and then looked back at Ilara, eyes glowing with gratitude. Part 6. A Prince's Lesson. In the weeks that followed, the Galactic Council called it the miracle of the twin ships. Kale's act of humility, returning before the council to publicly thank the human who raised his dragon, became legend. Before millions of viewers across the galaxy, Kale knelt before Ilara. You taught me what my people forgot, he said. That power means nothing without compassion. Ilara blinked, a little embarrassed. You're not so bad when you're not being an arrogant royal. He smiled faintly. And you're not so terrifying when you're not shouting. Sparks landed between them, now majestic. Sleek wings, silver scales blazing, eyes bright with intelligence. The council applauded. Even the humans watching from Earth saw the broadcast and cheered. Kale offered her a small crystal pendant, forged from Zarin's royal energy. A token of respect, he said. Not a joke this time. Ilara took it, smiling. I'll hold you to that. Sparks trilled happily and coiled his tail around both of them. A bridge between alien and human, prince and pilot. Epilogue. The light between worlds. Months later, the Arden cruised through uncharted space. Sparks now soared freely outside, his wings carrying him to the void as though it were air. Kale had returned to his empire, a changed ruler, one who ordered dragon sanctuaries to protect hatchlings once deemed imperfect. And every so often, a private message reached Alara's console. The stars are brighter since that day. Kale, she'd smile, touch the crystal pendant, and look at Sparks sleeping curled in the observation bay. Guess even alien princes can learn, she'd whisper. Sparks would open one eye, rumble softly, and breathe a gentle puff of silver flame, a reminder that even the smallest, ugliest hatchling can light the darkest galaxy.